Media. As consumers, we are bombarded by it at every turn, like the Incredible Hulk being bombarded by gamma rays. But what makes some media endure, while others are banished to the forgotten black hole of obscurity, never to be heard from again? Who or what decides this? Hetero life mates Steve and Yahel want to know, and they want to know now. This is Obscurity Now. Woo, 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 woo. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Obscurity Now, the show that likes to look at old and almost completely forgotten pieces of media and shine a light on them so you, the internet, can enjoy them. I am your host, Steve, and with me is, well, not with me, is my normal co-host, Yahel. He's out sick for the day, so we wish him the best. He's got some sort of obscure sickness, some sort of obscure, well, probably shouldn't make fun of it, but I'm sure he'll be fine. Please join our chat if you're watching us live, because we're here, and by we, of course, I mean me, and hopefully you are here to talk about, that's right, Thunder and Paradise, the Hulk Hogan syndicated TV show, but this is actually the, I guess it's the direct-to-video movie, and this was Yahel's choice, and I watched it, and then he called and told me that he was sick, and I was like, well, gee, now what do I do? Well, since I was forced to watch this, I decided to go ahead and do an episode anyway, because you guys need to know about Thunder in Paradise, whether you want to or not. But before we get to our feature presentation, first, we get to a little segment I like to call Hot Topics.
Hot topic. Not cold, not warm, but hot, 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 hot topic.
All right, there's not a whole lot that went on today, but one, or this week, I should say, but a big one, I guess, depending on if you're into manga or anime or not, is Kentaro Miura. I apologize if I didn't pronounce that correctly. The creator of the Berserk manga has died at the age of 54. As you can see, I am checking out the Forbes website here. And yeah, I mean, it was actually reported by Forbes and a lot of like big media outlets, which I find pretty interesting because if he would have, passed away back in the 90s, they wouldn't have given two craps, if you will, because, anime just wasn't a big deal back then, although it was a big deal to me. And speaking of big deals, yeah, I mean, I watched the Berserk anime for sure. I remember my roommate and I at the time, we rented it from Blockbuster and watched pretty much the entire series and thought it was pretty cool. I don't know, did they ever have a follow-up to it or not? Because I remember it left on quite the cliffhanger. And then I remember years later in the bookstores, I would see the Berserk manga, which is there's quite a few of those, and I really didn't know where to begin. Like, I think the anime was actually like a prequel, and it showed how Guts, the main character, how he got all of his weapons and got all messed up. And yeah, I mean, I just remember skimming it and being like, I don't know what's going on. And just one of those things where there was just too much continuity for me to deal with at the time. But someday, my friends, someday I am going to read the Berserk manga, and maybe you should too. Yeah, so he passed away at the age of 54. I don't know, from what I understand, manga artists work like super hard. I mean, the Asian work ethic is something that I, as a Caucasian, can just barely comprehend. I can only imagine that the Japanese one is just as strong as all the other little subsects. And yeah, and I remember there was also a Berserk Dreamcast game, which I remember playing, and it was pretty cool. But yeah, that's too bad, man. 54. Like, did he just draw so much and sit at a table for so long that it caught up to him? I certainly hope not. Remember, everything in moderation, and that includes, sitting at a desk and drawing, or in my case, sitting at a desk and streaming and podcasting. So, moving on, we're going to go to our next segment, and here it is.
Killing time.
So this is a segment where I like to talk, or we like to talk about stuff that we've been doing, basically to just pass the time when we're not busy, with our regular jobs or with, our projects and whatnot. And I've always wanted to go through, I'm a big fan of Amazon Prime and Tubi, because there is just so many movies to choose from, especially ones that are super obscure that might have, fallen under the radar. Like, stuff that actually got a theatrical release back in the 80s or 90s. And for whatever reason, nobody talks about them anymore. So, I like going into a movie like completely fresh, not knowing what's going on. However, there are, if I can look at the date and be like, oh, look at that, 1982, and see that, like a young Jeff Fahey was in it, then I know it's probably going to be a good movie. So I'm going to basically go through my Prime Video here and see if I can't pick out a few hidden gems for the listeners or watchers. And this one here, this was a weird one. It's called The Passion of Darkly Noon. And it came out in 1996 and stars a very young Brendan Fraser. Or Fraser? No, it's Fraser. Ashley Judd and Viggo Mortensen. And the synopsis here is, raised in a religious cult, a young man moves into a new town and falls in love with a mysterious beauty who may be a witch. He turns to violence as his obsession grows unbearable. Now, I haven't actually finished this one yet. I could tell that they didn't require a huge budget for this, because it's basically just a couple characters show up at this woman's house that is out in the middle of nowhere, basically, and wackiness ensues. Not really wackiness. This is a pretty good suspense thriller, if you will, and it's also just interesting to see stars when they're kind of just getting starting out. So like a young Brendan Fraser, Viggo Mortensen. I didn't even know he was even in stuff until Lord of the Rings. I just thought, he was born and then somehow ended up in the Lord of the Rings. Like that part of his life in between that. Does it even matter? Watch The Passion of Darkly Noon and maybe you'll get your answer. So what else do we have here? I recently watched, it is considered a Prime original, even though I'm sure they had nothing to do with it. It took me a while to watch it. Come on, just show up. My goodness. All right, don't make me use the search box. All right, I'm just going to use the search box. Let's see, no, here we go. All right. It is The Handmaiden, which is a Korean film directed by Park Chan-wook, and you may be familiar with his earlier work. Everybody loves Old Boy, the actual Old Boy. And then there's Stoker and Lady Vengeance, although I've never seen Lady Vengeance, but his stuff is great, super intense. Now, I don't know why it took me so long to see The Handmaiden, but I have a feeling it has to do with like the art, the image, to promote the film here on Amazon is pretty boring. It's just basically two men and two women, and they're wearing suits, and they're basically looking straight at the camera, and it doesn't tell you anything about the film, which makes it look incredibly boring. But I don't know why I missed Park Chan-wook, his name the whole time, because anything that he's associated with is really good. And I think the reason why the artwork is so boring is because they can't really reveal anything about the movie, because there's a lot of twists and turns. Like, once you think you have it figured out, it blows your mind again and again and again. And as long as you're cool with watching subtitles, which you should be, you uncultured swine, then I think you will highly enjoy The Handmaiden. So okay, let's do one more movie, and then we will go on to our feature presentation. There's The Handmaiden there. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Thunder Road. And the synopsis is as follows. Thunder Road follows a Southern police officer, Jim Cummings, on his journey to raise his young daughter as a love letter to his late mom. Heartwarming and hilarious, Jim struggles to cope with everyday life, winner of the Grand Jury Prize at South by Southwest. And it's directed by Jim Cummings, starring Jim Cummings, Neekin Robinson, and Kendall Farr. Janitor was Jim Cummings. He also did the catering. No, I'm kidding, of course, but this movie is awesome. Jim Cummings is quite the talent, the powerhouse, the talented powerhouse. He is so funny and serious and quirky at the same time. This feels like it could have been like a Coen Brothers movie, but not. And I can't recommend it enough. Like, it's basically a character study, but a character study dramedy, and I can't recommend it enough, as well as the other Jim Cummings movie that that he's a genre all into himself, called The Wolf of Snow Hollow. I said I was going to be done, but I guess I'm not. Let's see if that one's in here. Anyway, I can just summarize it for you. I mean, basically, it's a lot like Thunder Road, except for it is a horror movie. And it appears that a werewolf is killing people in this small town. And Jim Cummings, again, plays a cop. I don't know why he always likes to play police officers, but hey, he does a great job. So, I mean, really, just check out anything Jim Cummings is involved with. It's super good. And speaking of things that are super good, we are going to move on to our super good feature presentation.
Welcome to your feature presentation.
All right, just give me a one moment. Okay, so if you're watching, here we are at the IMDb of Thunder in Paradise. As I said, well, we agreed to watch this, but Yahel was the one who suggested it. And here's the synopsis. It's Terry Hulk Hogan, which that still isn't his real name. Hulk Hogan's real name is Terry Bollea, in case anyone cares. Terry Hulk Hogan stars as RJ Hurricane Spencer, who is an ex-Navy SEAL and confirmed bachelor struggling to make ends meet in order to save his superboat, Thunder, and ultimately his business. Spencer is forced into a marriage of convenience with the snobby Megan Whitaker. When Megan gets kidnapped, it's up to Spencer and his partner, Brew, that's Brew, not Gru, to save the day or risk losing everything. Yeah, so this came out all the way back in 1993, and I think I remember seeing this VHS at the video store, but never getting around to renting it. I think maybe this was probably when sort of Hulk star was kind of falling a little bit, and even myself as a, I don't know how old, what was I in, even myself as a 12-year-old in 1993, was probably even starting to lose interest and probably looked at it and thought, man, does this look super lame? And I would always pass by it. Although later on, when Thunder in Paradise became a syndicated TV show, I would catch a few episodes here and there. I would watch it kind of in the same way that I would watch Star Trek. In the way that if it was on and I had nothing else to do, I would check it out. And I think it used to also come on after Nitro or one of those other wrestling shows. But let's take a look at the cast list here. Of course, we've got Terry Bollea. Hulk Hogan is RJ Hurricane Spencer. Felicity Waterman played Megan Whitaker. That's Hulk's ex-wife, or then they get married. I don't know. It's so confusing. Carol Alt played Kelly LaRue. Let's see which one she was. I guess it would help if they... I think she's like the girl who's always chasing after Hulk. We'll get to that later. Robin Weissman was Jessica Whitaker, who was Hulk's ex-wife's mother. Chris Lemon, and boy is he a lemon, played Martin Brubaker. What a nickname. Patrick McNee played Edward Whitaker. Sam J. Jones played David Kilmer, and Charlotte Ray was Lola Miller. Lisa Stahl was Nicole. Sandra Thigpen was Citra. Oh yeah, she's like a bad guy. Russ Blackwell was Shanks. That's got to be a bad guy. And Jim Neidhart, the wrestler, that is Jim the Anvil Neidhart, played Norman Kowalski. It's funny that the person he was playing has a more regular name than he does. Jorge Gonzalez was Terremoto. And that's actually the Giant Gonzalez / El Gigante, for you wrestling savvy people. And Michael Edwards, I guess he played someone because the name isn't mentioned next to it. And then Fred Ottaviano played the private investigator. Whew. So, oh man, where to begin with this? We open, of course, with bikini babes lotioning up themselves in classic 90s Baywatch fashion. I mean, if you've never seen this show, the best way to describe it is like Baywatch meets Knight Rider through the fever dream of some Florida guy. And that Florida guy being one Terry Bollea, Hulk Hogan, who, I don't know if you know or not, he's from Terry. He's from Tampa, Florida. Probably the greatest export ever from Tampa, Florida. Aside from myself and one Yahel Velazquez, of course. So let's go through my notes here. So basically, after the girls get done sunning themselves for our enjoyment, like, I mean, you gotta stop you right there. And I mean, this show was obviously made for men. You know, back in the day, I guess shows would, try to actually appeal to like different groups and demographics. Nowadays everything's got to be for everyone. So if you're going to watch this and you're easily offended, you're probably going to be offended. Even though, I mean, it's all real PG stuff. But anyway, the girls are lotioning themselves up and boom, the theme song starts bumping. And man, is it a great piece of like late 80s, early 90s, like cheese. It's actually a pretty cool theme song. And along comes the thunder. And the thunder is the name of this boat. There's the thunder right there in the background. I think the boat should be front and center, and Hulk with his weird empty stare should probably be in the back. Like the boat should have got top billing is what I'm saying here. Because the boat is like, I mean, the entire plot and like show is all built around this boat. In fact, like if you want to look at the theme of Thunder in Paradise, it's all about the love of a man and his boat. Okay, so here we go. So along comes the boat, and the girls, of course, they're all swooning because, even though I assume they live in Florida, they've never seen a boat with the power of thunder. And of course, like Hulk and Brew are like chilling. They're just driving, and they at one point they give like a Predator style sort of fist bump, and then they decide, what's this? They can go inside the thunder? Oh my gosh, mind blown. I didn't see that coming, although that I did because I've watched this show before. But if only I could put myself in the shoes of a viewer who's never seen Thunder in Paradise before, and then all of a sudden, what? They're going inside the speedboat? I mean, surely that would have shaken me to the core. So they go in there, and then there's a bunch of, like, basically Brew goes down there, and he's on the set of, like, some forgotten Star Trek show that never made it, which is supposed to be the inside of the boat. Whatever, there's all these flashy dials and stuff, and it's fun. A lot of times people use the word fun to describe in place of stupid. It's definitely stupid, but it's also fun. I mean, what 12-year-old Florida boy wouldn't want to have, like, a high-powered speedboat where you could go around and solve mysteries and other people's problems and stuff? I'm sure Hulk did, which is why they, invented this show. So anyway, moving on. One odd thing about this is that Hulk has an eye patch the whole time, and I don't remember him having that before. And I think he actually had something wrong with his eye. I think a touch of the old pink eye, if you get my drift. I heard a horrible limerick involving pink eye and a sexual act, but I'll spare you that. But anyway, yeah, so Hulk is looking almost like full-on pirate in this, and he drives a boat. It's almost like a big joke, kind of like this show. So yeah, like, they are going into international waters, or more specifically, they're going to Cuba in this high-tech boat that has, like, rocket launchers and machine guns and all kinds of, like, crazy stuff. They're going to basically extract this guy's wife and kid from Cuba because, they're the enemy. Like, they're back in the 90s, Cuba might as well have just been called Cobra. And the U.S., I mean, of course, we were G.I. Joe, I guess. I don't know. It felt like it was inspired by that whole Elion scandal. Like, I don't know. I don't really remember if that happened before or after Thunder in Paradise came out, but whatever. So anyway, basically a huge action scene takes place. Hulk rides a wave runner / jet ski out of the thunder, and that's when I realized that it's kind of impossible to look cool while riding a jet ski, or at least like the wave runner kind. Like, if you were on the stand-up kind, like, that's impressive, but even Hulk with, like, smoke and, like, bullets and stuff going on behind him, even him looks lame driving a wave runner, because it doesn't really take any skill. You just sit there and work the throttle, and you're like, and you don't even get any water splashed up on your face. But hey, if I'm wrong, comment about it. Like, let me know. Tell me how hard it is to ride a wave runner, or maybe there's, like, tricks that I don't know. So yeah, blah blah blah. There's a low budget action scene, and Hulk. There's a really funny scene where Hulk, he swims under a pier because he jumps off the wave runner, swims under a pier, and these Cuban soldiers, they surround him, and they're just, like, laying on the bullets, like, thick, and you're like, oh no, is Hulk gonna die? And it's hilarious because, like, when you see the underwater footage, there's not a single bullet like whizzing by like anywhere. But just don't pay attention to that stuff. Turn your mind off. Just have fun, Jack. So anyway, Hulk defeats those guys by grabbing the posts of the pier and smashing them, and then of course the guys fall down, and Hulk's okay. And so, moving on, Hulk he gets a hold of the wife and the kid, and they speed out of there into the sunset and thunder. And there's basically a Tinker Tape parade, like welcoming him back. And they reunite the mother and son with the kid, or with the dad, and those guys, I guess, live happily ever after. But unfortunately, us, the viewer, we do not, because then there's still like an hour and 15 minutes to watch of this show. And it's weird, like it moves in and out of being like entertaining and really annoying, kind of like the sidekick, one Brew, that is what was his name again? Chris Lemon, or is it Lemon? Yeah, I could tell they like cast this guy because they wanted to get a guy who maybe had a little bit more acting chops than Hulk, but man, does he like ham it up. And he's one of those guys who I could see maybe like a producer or someone without a sense of humor like think is funny, but is more annoying than anything else. And he just hams it up in every scene, to different degrees of effect, basically. And of course, like there's very little character depth to any of these characters. Like basically what this show / movie actually is a commercial for three things. And I wrote that down in here somewhere. It is a commercial, first, for a boat, of course. You definitely want to get into boating as soon as you can. It brings families together, and it's the old American pastime. Forget baseball, start boating. The second thing, commercial, is for this hotel, and the hotel is called, come on, where is it? It's got such an easy name. I'll find it later. But anyway, yeah. For whatever reason, Hulk hangs out at this hotel. Well, the reason why is because his ex-wife, who they're never clear on exactly why they broke up. I guess the reason why is because they're such different characters. I mean, Hulk, RJ. Sorry, he's got so many names I can't keep up with it. He's a free spirit, man. He rides a motorcycle, which that's another thing they're advertising. Like, there's all these they're basically commercial shots of either Hulk riding a boat, Hulk riding a motorcycle, or like bikini babes hanging out in this hotel. So there you go. Those are your three sponsors are right there. But yeah, Hulk, he is a free spirit, man. He wears snakeskin boots. He wears jeans all the time. He wears shirts with the sleeves cut off. He has a patch eye. He's always covering up his bald spot with that bandana, man. That is a man's man. And you see, his wife, Megan Whitaker, is though a very attractive woman, she's a prim and proper British person. At least, I mean, I don't think her British accent was real. I don't really understand why they had to make her British. I guess it's because even the absolute dumbest viewer could be like, oh, I get it. She's British, so that means she's proper. Like if she had an American accent, that would mean that she's not. Or they made her that way because of the actor who was in The Man from U.N.C.L.E. He's a British dude who plays the bad uncle who's trying to take away her hotel. Whew, there's so many plot threads for this movie that, I mean, really, it's like Pulp Fiction over here, but nowhere near as good. But anyway, yeah. So I guess the idea is that she's prim and proper. he's a free spirit, so I guess they hooked up enough to get married and have a really obnoxious little daughter. I mean, she is the atypical like kid who is too smart, who doesn't act like a real little kid and like never stops talking. And I guess you know this, at least as far as Hulk and his ex-wife's their dynamic, because Hulk decides to take this his daughter parasailing, and then of course along comes Mrs. X Hulk, and she's all, "How dare you take my child, and parasailing and dangerous, and ho 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 tea and crumpets and all kinds of sugar." And it's, I mean, this little girl, I mean, they're in Florida. Like, everyone parasails in Florida. Like, I think sometimes they give birth while parasailing there. And like, I know because I used to live there. And Yahel lives there. And I wish he were here, but he's not. But that's okay. You gotta move on, man. All right. So yeah, it's, I don't know. I guess there's no parasailing in England, and she never got used to the parasailing where they live in Florida. So yada yada yada. So the uncle is gonna take away Hulk's ex-wife's hotel. At the same time, the bank is going to take away the thunder, the boat, the whole point of this show. And, and Hulk and Brew, there's nothing they can do about it. Because, I mean, I guess they just don't want to get regular jobs. Like, if you live in Florida, you're either a guy on a boat or you're nothing. At least that's what I've learned from watching Thunder in Paradise. You either have a cool boat or you're nothing. So that leads to the hilarious scenario in which Hulk has to propose to his ex-wife, and they have to get married again. And that's pretty much exactly what happens. And man, if you guys could have seen the bow tie that Hulk was wearing at his supposed wedding, which is on top of the hotel, of course. And then, of course, he's got his patch eye and bandana. I mean, it was like some sort of 80s pirate, like, getting married. But yeah. So they get married, and all the while, I forgot about a very important plot point. After Hulk gets back from rescuing that Cuban couple, he then decides to play with this dead hammerhead shark and his daughter. He's like trying to describe, I guess, in a hilarious way, how he caught the shark and like ripped it to shreds and stuff. All the while, there's like a dead shark corpse right there next to them, and he like jams his hand through it. Like, I hope it wasn't real. It looked pretty real. But hey, Hulk is just so manly. He can play with whatever shark corpses he wants, I guess. But anyway, they just, for a laugh, he thinks it would be funny if he sees what's in the shark's belly. And lo and behold, they find this necklace, and he gives it. He doesn't clean it or anything. He hands it straight to his daughter. And that's what leads us into the next plot. After the wedding, this group of, I guess, actual pirates, these treasure hunters, or they were never really clear about, mercenaries or something. They see a picture of the daughter wearing the necklace. And they're like, oh man, that's where my next score is. So yada, yada, yada. They show up. And again, very quickly, the whole Hulk dispatches them. All of them except for El Gigante is there, or Giant Gonzalez, whatever you want to call him. This 7'7" wrestler. And they do battle. And in beautiful, hilarious slow-mo, Hulk throws him around, or no, El Gigante throws around Hulk like it's nothing, and that's pretty funny. But somehow they still overcome them. The the main villain, steals the necklace straight in Mr. Burns fashion, steals the necklace straight off of the daughter's neck, and they run. But then the Hulk comes after him, grabs the necklace, and it shatters in the sand. But the bad guys still get away. They get the necklace, realize it's a puzzle, put it together, and lo and behold, it's a treasure map. So here we are in, I guess, Act 3. I don't even know if this even was a 3-act structure, but yeah, so now it's turned into Indiana Jones. So Hulk, Brew, and Hulk's ex-wife all have to go on a little treasure hunt, and that is where they find the treasure. But then the bad guys also show up, and yada yada yada. Like, I gotta be honest, I didn't finish it, but I assumed that Hulk saved the day, and yeah, like, So I guess the big question here is, should you watch Thunder in Paradise? I mean, how big of a Hulk fan are you? I think maybe if you had the right kind of adult beverages and enough friends at a party, you can get some decent entertainment out of it. I think watching Hulk and his acting style is always entertaining. And just some of the choices they made, like the whole like shark play around thing. I wanted to find out if his wife was actually British or not. Let's see. I mean, her name is Felicity. She has to be. Oh my gosh, she was born in England. And now I feel bad because I assumed her accent was fake this whole time. I guess the only fake was me. Anyway, I wonder if she stuck around for any other episodes. I liked in the later episodes of the show, I always liked when Sting showed up. Not the bass player, but the wrestler. Yeah, the wrestler cameos are cool. You got Jim the Anvil Neidhart and Brutus the Beefcake, if anyone out there is a fan of him. And of course, Jimmy Hart, the Mouth of the South. Those were fun. And of course, the Giant Gonzalez. And I know there's many other wrestler cameos as the show went on. You might want to stick to the show. At least it's shorter. This was really hard to get through. You can watch it on YouTube, the whole thing, by the way. But I mean, once it started getting around 2:00, I just couldn't make it. And I had to go to bed. And I swore I was going to watch the last 15 minutes of it today, but it just didn't happen. So if I can't make it through it, you're probably not going to make it through it either. Unless you have friends and beverages. And so there you go. Let's take a look at some of the people behind the camera. Directed by Douglas Schwartz. Wonder if he ever worked again after this. Written by Michael Burke. Story by Michael Burke. So he's to blame. And Douglas Schwartz. So there you go. Those are the guys to blame for this. The old Burke Schwartz production team. I wonder if they ever worked again. Let's find out. Let's see. Michael Burke. Planet Baywatch. Okay. All right. So there you go. He was a dude who worked on Baywatch, and they brought him over to work his magic on Thunder in Paradise. Let's check the other guy. Douglas Schwartz. Use the Schwartz reference. And he was a Baywatch guy too. Oh, what? Oh, he did special effects for Runaway Train? That's odd. It's a great movie, though. You should check out Runaway Train. Forget Thunder in Paradise and watch Runaway Train. So I think that is going to do it for... Whoops. I think that's going to do it for... What was this again? Thunder in Paradise. So we're going to go to our last segment right now.
What on earth have you been working on? It's time for Project Report.
All right, this is the project report section where we talk about the various stuff that we've been working on throughout the week. I guess Yahel is working on a very in-depth video, which is what he's known for. So make sure you check out the Wrestling with Gaming YouTube page, because that's where all of his videos are. Let's see, what have I been working on? I've been getting more art from my artist or illustrator for my comic. Another friend of mine and I sat in on his future YouTube show in which we watched a terrible movie, almost as bad as Thunder in Paradise. Probably worse because it didn't even have a soundtrack. But the very first episode of that will be available who knows when, but I'm sure I will let all of you know if you're interested. And aside from that, I believe that's everything. Well, I thank you so much for joining me, your good pal Steve, here on episode number 4 of Obscurity Now. Please subscribe and like and all that stuff. And the pre-recorded video that I'm about to play is going to ask you to do all that stuff again. This is available as a podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all that other stuff. If streaming shows are not your thing, or if watching the replay on YouTube is not your thing, I mean, we've got something's got to be your thing, and I want to give it to you. Whatever your thing is, I want to give it to you. But my thing is obscure media, and I hope yours is too. So we will see you next time. And remember, it's not obscurity soon, it's obscurity now. You've been enjoying Obscurity Now, a podcast that's recorded live to tape and broadcast to Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube. Take us with you by following the download links provided in the show notes. And take notice of our various social media links, if that's what you're into. I'm not here to judge. And make sure you join us live next week at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, as we continue to discuss more obscure media only on Obscurity Now.